Welcome everybody, this is the Right Fit Podcast, episode 2! My name is Maz Compton, I'm a media personality and I'm fascinated by the world of influencer marketing, and I'm joined as always by Taryn Williams, who is the CEO and potty-mouthed founder of the Right Fit. Can you please just explain that story?
Okay, I did a speaking engagement just recently at one of the top 4 very corporate establishments in Sydney, and I potentially maybe swore a little bit more than I should have in a very inappropriate context. So now I am the potty mouth founder, and I will be trying not to swear tonight.
I know, but you are allowed to because it's a podcast, so we can do what we like.
Podcasts are cool. You can swear as much as you like.
You really, really can. Today we're joined by Dean and Simone. Thanks for popping in, guys. And what I want to do is just quickly get to know you guys in like a little snapshot. So we'll start with Dean. Do you want to introduce yourself to the listeners and how you kind of fit into this spectrum?
Sure thing. So I'm Dean Jones. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Glamcorner. We're Australia's largest online designer fashion rental business. And I'm going to go out of my way to swear quite a bit tonight, just to counterbalance the lack of swearing. And my wife and I founded the business about 5 years ago because we realised that there was a part of retail that was a bit broken, where women throughout the year would find themselves standing in front of a wardrobe full of clothes and had nothing to wear. And it would be really great in that moment to be able to just rent an item for a particular occasion. And doing it online is even easier and faster delivery and a greater selection than in a physical store. So we founded the business back then, and it's sort of been onwards and upwards since then.
That's awesome. Okay.
I'm a total addict. I love it. I have rented so many different dresses. It's like I don't have the guilt anymore of being like, oh my gosh, I purchased all of these things and I never wear them, and like jam them down the back of the cupboard.
It's so amazing. True what you say, Dean. When every girl has had that dilemma where their wardrobe is stacked full, as is the spare room wardrobe, and they're like, I've got nothing to wear. And all the husbands were like, oh, you women. So I feel like you've saved marriages.
No, hey, thanks for that. I mean, you're right too.
Single-handedly, yeah.
Cheers. The statistic is on average, the Australian woman only uses about a third of what's actually in her wardrobes. That's 2/3 of like a lot of wasted space that eventually ends up in landfills, which is pretty bad. So we're providing part of the solution to that, which is another reason why we're doing this.
Cool. And Simone, what do you do? Tell us a bit about you.
So I'm Simone Bevan. I'm the head of influencer marketing at Magnum & Co. Fairly new to the company. And I'm there to kind of revise and finesse, re-establish the influencer marketing offering. So we're going through quite an exciting time at the moment where we're just preparing to relaunch the offering to press and to the industry. And as far as, I guess, interests and things like that, huge lover of strategy, creative and digital. And my background is predominantly digital, and that's how I found myself in the influencer marketing landscape.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you straight off the bat, because influencer marketing is such a new territory and it's such an unknown. I think every time Taryn and I catch up, it's like, no one really knows what they're doing. Yeah. We're all kind of just winging it, and sometimes it's a massive success and then sometimes it's a huge fail. So how did you, I guess, transfer into the role of influencer, being the head of influencer marketing?
So I started in kind of PR, sales and marketing, kind of working within an events company back in the UK from Leeds originally. And then I found myself working with clients specifically in the beauty sector, where we were actually devising events and talking about how we can invite influencers to those events as well. And the passion just really was born from there. Moved to Sydney following that. Headed up the team at my old company, head of influencer marketing again. And from there, it was just integrating influencer marketing into a digital setting. So it was a really exciting time, like jumping onto it when it's just in its infancy and it's catapulted now. So
yeah, it has. It really has. Dean, I've got a question for you. So with your business, and I think I'm going to ask this to everybody that comes on this podcast because I find the answers so interesting and there's no right answer. It's not a quiz, by the way. You can't fail. But what is an influencer to you? Like, can you define what that actually is? It's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Really got me thinking. I think there's several tiers of influencer, if I was to define it as someone who at least has independently a degree of social reach through various social platforms, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, who has enough people following them that they're even just individually if not in aggregate, kind of rival the traditional mainstream media.
Yeah.
And have enough eyeballs each day following them and watching what they're doing, listening to what they say, that they'd be an influencer. Where's the threshold? Is it a few thousand followers, 5, 10, 20?
Well,
it's hard to say.
I think it's completely undefinable, if that's even a word.
Yeah.
That's a word.
Yeah, undefinable.
I think it's a word.
Oh, it's a word now.
Definable.
Indefinable.
We're just making up words. Yeah, I agree with you. It's like you can't really define it, but we kind of all have an understanding of that person that we want to engage our brand with, or several brands. Taryn, have you had, because I feel like you're getting approached by people who want to engage with brands like Dean's and do work with a range of things that you do, Simone. So you're this connector kind of glue in this whole mix. When people approach you, what defines an influencer for you? Like, what is your criteria, the right fit to go, yeah, we'll stick you online and you can have a profile and
So it has to be a minimum of 5,000 followers across any 2 channels. So it can be Instagram or Twitter. We can't pull in Facebook followers. That's a Facebook thing. That's not an us thing. So it needs to be a combined 5,000 across either of those 2. Yeah. And then we check engagement rates on the way in as well. So we look for a minimum of 2% engagement.
And that's where your insights.
Yeah.
Just for those people who are like, what? How do you do that? There's an insights page and it has hard data.
Yes.
We love data.
We do love the data. From there, it's very, very difficult to quantify what else is an influencer, because we also have journalists and media personalities and sports stars who may fall under that threshold of 5,000 followers, but may be very influential in a particular space.
Yeah.
So
okay, cool.
it's very difficult to judge.
Yeah, it is difficult to judge. And I was thinking on the way over here, I'm like, you know what? I actually know somebody who's a friend of mine who, I won't mention her or his name, but has been on national TV shows. So, like, I would say quite recognisable in Australia as a media personality. Not a huge social media following, but it's done huge campaigns for cars and, you know, this and that and the other. And then I also know this girl who lives locally to where I am, who's got like 180,000 followers on Instagram, and she's just this like pocket rocket superstar who, like, she can't walk down the shops without people being like, hey-oh. And she's, like, her full-time job now is being an Instagram person.
It's amazing, isn't
and
it?
I'm like, but if she, I think most people who aren't in her local, like, close-knit community, her tribe, I don't think anyone would know who she was from a bar of soap. Yet she's monetizing her Instagram, and my friend is like, when's the next TV job coming up? Like, what do we do here? So it blows my mind that that's even a thing, right?
Yeah, and as you say, it's so localized in, you know, maybe beauty or sport or fashion or a particular geographical area, like that person can have influence in.
Okay, so we're talking about the world of influencers, and it's super hard to define. So Simone, when you're coming up with influencer marketing strategy, how do you even start? Like, what do you even start with?
Oh gosh, I guess for me it would be determining the client's objectives and what they want to get out of it. I guess to your previous point, to the 2 different spectrums of your friends, to me they would both be an influencer, but it would depend on the client's objectives as to which influencer I would put forward in that respect.
Okay.
So it'd be kind of establishing the client's objectives, what they want to get out of the activity, understanding their audiences and doing a bit of persona research so that we know who we're actually targeting in the campaign.
So you have to actually Insta-stalk the Instagram people.
Yeah, Insta-stalk effectively, and a list of influencer criteria that we want to kind of,
that is part of your job description. It's just really cool. Like,
it is. It's like
full-time stalker.
It was for my job. Oh, okay, sure.
But yeah, I guess there's a number of criteria that we would take into consideration for an influencer marketing strategy. So it's everything from kind of personas and audience research right through to just understanding like the technical workings of that client site. If we're driving traffic to a particular landing page, is that gonna, you know, does that work right? Does that function right? Do we have a really sort of comprehensive and top level user experience? So there's lots of different elements that go into an influencer marketing strategy.
And so then how from that, like from, I guess, getting a bit of paper together of like, these are the people, how do you go forth and engage? Do you DM people? Are you like, hey, yo, love your page, want to promote this brand? Like, is that kind of how we do things these days?
It is to an extent, and that does work. I mean, where I would usually start is emailing them if I don't have that personal relationship with that influencer already. Dropping them an email, really casual. You've got to remember it's kind of a real person that you're speaking to. So just, hey, love your channel. Make it really bespoke and really personal, because these people get influx with emails every single day. So if you show like a genuine interest in their channels and what they're talking about and writing about, it just gives you that extra hook to be able to start that conversation and build that relationship. Yeah. But yeah, emails, sliding into the DMs, like there's lots of different techniques that we can use to get the conversation.
Because we're all so contactable now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I guess you really can, if you really, really wanted to, you could probably hit Zac Efron up with an email. Yeah. Like we could probably between us find his personal email address.
So true. Yeah, by 1 degree of association.
Dean, have you engaged influencers with your business?
Quite a lot.
And how did you approach that and come up with that concept in the beginning?
I'll be the first person to say not perfectly to begin with.
I would be concerned if you hadn't made a few little along the way. How'd you figure that out?
A lot of trial and error, because it's a really fast evolving space with a lot of different things happening. And I don't think there's any hard and fast rules too. I think, as Simone was saying, once you bring in the dimension of how your own platform receives the traffic and how you utilize that, it doesn't matter kind of where the traffic's coming from sometimes, depending on what you're selling. So a lot of trial and error. I think we learnt 2 things during that time. One was that it is very time consuming reaching out to people, which is why some platforms that help you connect to influencers can be really valuable. I think for the influencers too, like unless you're represented, no wonder it's a full-time job. You probably spend half your day just answering DMs from people.
Yeah.
Some of your followers probably.
People, and you're like, who are you?
Some of the other 100,000 followers that are following you, right? So it's a lot of people who could message you. So we learned that. It was difficult to outreach to people we actually wanted to outreach to. And then what we did, when we tried enough of them, we found the ones that worked and actually had genuinely really good engagement, even if they were smaller followings, we became a real repeat customer for them. We didn't just do it once, we did it multiple times. So our strategy kind of got refined over time. And then we started also working with a PR firm on our side, Sweaty Betty PR in Sydney, who helped do a lot of that heavy lifting of kind of filtering through all the different options that are out there and suggesting a whole bunch that we could possibly work with, and then reaching out to them. And the ones that go back to us, we worked with. So hopefully that answers your question. I mean, it's not perfect yet.
It's a very open-ended question.
Yeah.
Have you ever reached out to an influencer and they've just gone, no, not keen?
Yes.
Do you take that personally? Because I would.
Maybe early on.
What do you mean you don't represent my business?
Maybe early on. And look, you got to be commercial about this stuff, so I didn't take it personally. But probably a bit silly, because that was a few years ago. And given the budget we now have for influencer marketing, we probably never want to work with those people ever again.
Right.
They probably will regret that.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
And maybe for now. No, we spent that much on influencer marketing, but we're going to keep spending it. And given they didn't want to work with us in the past, they kind of fall to the bottom of the list when there's a lot of other options out there they need to remember.
Yeah.
We've been rebuffed a few times, but it happens less and less.
And I think it's how they go about it too. Like I think if they come back and say, look, I can't right now, I'm working on a conflicting brand, or, this is, I'm working on this type of campaign at the moment and I'd love to consider, but the ones that just either don't reply or reply, I'd like to be paid X much more.
Yeah.
I think you can definitely rub the wrong way. On the right fit, without throwing anyone under the bus.
Yeah, we definitely see the people who work really, really regularly and who have repeat business and clients who just come back again and again. Simon Hancock that we had on the other day is a perfect example of that. Who always go above and beyond, who always put in the extra mile. The clients ask for one post and they'll always do a second one, at no extra charge, or, really do something to earn that relationship and get those repeat bookings. That definitely stands out on the platform. You see that all the time. And brands gravitate towards that and away from people who are less easy to work with or more demanding.
Because them and their marketing spend, and it is maybe one-sided me saying this, will just take their money somewhere else. There are plenty of other options out there, right?
Fair enough. 100%. So we've gravitated into the money conversation, which is a really, really interesting one in this space. Because we see it on the right fit. There's a lot of contra opportunities for people who are trying to, you know, build content to create and drive engagement and build their profile and make it into a full-time thing. And then there's like $20,000 jobs. Like there's a huge scope and a big range. So I'll throw it over to Simone. How do you figure out how to pay and what to pay an influencer and for what?
I guess because it's such a self-regulated market, it is the biggest question that I get more than any other. Like, what is the benchmarks versus reach versus engagement rate?
Yeah, because I don't think there's no equation yet.
No,
I don't think there's a formula yet that we could say it's this and that.
There's no guideline, and as far as I would be aware, I don't think there ever is going to be one. I think all that you can do is have your KPIs, have your objectives front of mind, understand how you want to work with that influencer and put your own value against that partnership. And in that, establishing your own budget and just knowing the outcomes that you want to get for the level of investment that you're going to make. So obviously for me, like, if I was engaging a brand ambassador, regardless of reach, just who I thought was super on brand, really passionate about my client and the brand that I'm partnering with. If I was talking about working with them long term, the level of investment that I would have for that would be very different from, you know, like just a seeding opportunity where I'm just trying to get a number of Instagram posts. So with that, I really think about the person's time that they're investing in creating this content, familiarising themselves with the brands, because ultimately, you know, you're paying someone to do a job, and I think that needs to be considered as well.
Yeah, so Dean, is there some element of risk that you feel when you're, like, this is your baby, this is your business, like this, you know, this is something that you created and have built from the ground up, and you're handing it over to a total stranger who you may or may not follow on Instagram. How do you feel doing that? Or can you just completely make it a business thing and go, there's no emotion involved here. If they do a crap job, we won't book them again, and that's just the risk that you take.
It's both. I don't want to make that my answer like every question you ask.
I keep asking you two questions. I'm going to just start asking you one question and then let you answer that and then go, but it could be the other way as well.
We've learned over time that if people deliver, whether they've got a big following or a small following, they're going to get more work from us. So, yeah, I mean, could you rephrase the question again? I know we went off. Sorry, we can edit that part out, right?
Yeah, we can edit that. Let me ask it to you this way. When you engage an influencer, do you feel nervous about handing over your business, I guess the face of your business temporarily to somebody who you might or might not follow on Instagram?
That's why you took me down a dark path there. That's why I was thinking about. No, it's because there is risk. There's been a few times where you're handing over the baby because there's always that risk. You've got to do your homework, and I think that's where it helps to have an agency or someone else who's in the market who sees these people every day or sees how they deliver. So you do have to do your homework to de-risk that a bit. But yes, it's your brand, it's your name. So if someone stuffs that up, especially at how quickly information moves these days, it's really hard to reverse that. There's been a few mistakes made, even typos or just someone in the background in a photo, like that can have an impact on a company's brand, because that's one of the most valuable assets they have and have spent years of sweat and blood building.
That's true.
But the other side is why I said both is because you also got to be sure to hold influencers accountable in terms of the results, whether it's letting the agency know or the platform know, here's my feedback. This is what worked, this is what didn't. Here's what they said they would do. Here's what they actually did. I think that's really important too, for either the next person or for the next time you speak to them, because it's still an exchange of services. Yeah,
sure. Even if it's not monetary, like even if you're going, here's a gift, this is the expectation. If you're not accountable to that expectation, that kind of sucks, because then we can't move forward.
Yeah, exactly. So for sure, we always try to de-risk it, and you do feel like you're always taking a little bit of risk sometimes, but holding people accountable and doing your homework is sort of, just part and parcel of doing it.
So Taryn, you're bringing people into this platform, the right fit. And you said last time we caught up that you get about 250 applications a day, which completely blows my mind.
It's crazy.
I was like, they might get like 7 applications a week.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
But that's a lot of people, right? Yeah. It's a lot of people going, I want to give this a crack.
Yeah.
So what questions are you asking them to ensure that it is something that they should be pursuing?
Great question. So when they come through, nailed that. When they come through our application process, so it comes through the platform as an application process. So they have to complete their bio, they have to link their socials, they have to upload a minimum of 5 photos and upload their skills and the kind of work that they're interested in doing. So whether that's branded content, guest posting, whatever it might be, that comes through to one of our customer service team, and they'll go through and individually screen each profile. So some they'll be able to open really quickly and understand, yeah, this is a professional influencer. We can click straight through their social channels. We can check them out, understand, yeah, this person's good to go, and we'll get in touch with them and let them know that they've been approved, and they'll be able to access the platform and start applying for work. Others will need a personal touch, and they'll get a phone call from us saying, look, we want to know more about you. Can you tell us about the kind of brands you've worked with in the past? What are you looking, what do you want to get out of the platform? What does success look like? Do you just want to do branded posts, or what is this all about? And others will get declined, and then there's a whole series of reasons that they might be declined.
Sure.
So then they'll go back and have to either work on their profile, come back to us when they're a little bit more experienced, or fix particular sections and come back to us. So,
and that kind of production line too you just described adds so much value to the person at the end, because you've saved so much
Who's
time.
on the platform.
Yeah, someone who wants to use it.
Yeah, sure.
It saves so much time, because that kind of screening initially, like that's sometimes like half the work.
Yeah. And exactly as you were sort of touching on before, we're trying to remove that element of risk, and also the time just spent in putting cold calls out on Instagram or reaching out to people and getting nothing back. Like this way, the people on the platform that you're engaging with want to work. They're on the platform because they want to be engaging with brands and building a career. So
So this, I'm going to just share a quick anecdote, guys. This is a real life story from one of my friends who is, she's incredible. She's the CEO of a company. And so she's pretty much in charge of hiring, firing, amongst other things. And she had to let somebody go not all that long ago because they found out that that person was a pathological liar. And so this person, she was telling me the story at dinner, and I was flipping out. I was like, I cannot even believe that humans like this exist. This person had totally lied on her resume, had gotten through 2 interviews and had been at the company for 2 months, and then a previous employer had contacted the company and gone, I saw this post on her social media, FYI, this is the reason why we had to get rid of her last time, you might need to da-da-da. And so this whole thing, totally imploded. Senior management job, the whole deal, right? I was losing my mind. This is a person that my friend, who I think is excellent at her job, obviously didn't see coming at her as a total pathological liar. How the hell does that make you guys feel in this space where we're so removed from the actual human being element? So, and I know we only really put our highlights on Facebook and we put our best selfies up on Instagram, and we all create this online life and profile. But what happens if that's getting taken so far? Does that, are there any sort of red flags for you guys with stuff like that? I know that's a really extreme example, and I really just wanted to tell the story because it blows my mind that it actually happened to a friend. I'm like, no way!
Yeah.
But
I think it's really interesting what you said, that she got caught out through social media.
Yes, it was.
And I think
Facebook posts.
Fell on a sword.
And that's
Totally.
because it's really interesting. I think that, and that's sort of what we do see these. It would be incredibly difficult to live a false life because you have all of these social channels to feed. And I think that's why brands are so savvy, is you can look at and you can check out someone's, a lot of the brands that we work with, one of them is a fitness and sports brand, and they will go and they will check back 52 weeks ago and see, how often are you in the gym? Do you drink alcohol? How often do you drink alcohol?
Yeah, right.
Is that you eating a burger on a Friday night? You are not the right person for our brand. So it's, you can be, your whole life, or as much of it as you want to live online now, is available online. So
that's true.
So difficult.
So Insta-stalking, I feel like it's just the way to go.
Yeah. Safety first, Insta-stalk.
It's just the way forward. Have you had any situations like that, Simone, where somebody who you've potentially engaged or wanted to engage for a brand of yours has just turned out to be not what you guys were thinking?
Yes, actually, there's been a few instances.
What's their handle on Instagram?
No, let's expose them.
It comes up in yellow writing.
It's not as controversial or maybe as juicy as as some of this stuff.
Make it sound juicy.
I know.
Juicy. They're in jail now.
Yeah, they got arrested. No, I guess the story there was it was a premium organic skincare brand. And it was really working with people who were into like holistic lifestyle and health and wellness. And it was like a full kind of, like world that we wanted this person to embody. And they did kind of, lie and get through kind of our screening process because they were so keen to work with this brand. But we quickly just cut ties with that person when we did like a full audit of their channels. So in that, like looking at their social, looking really far back, and then also doing like a full PR audit and actually finding out what kind of associations they have with press, what are press writing about them, saying about them. So people tend to lie, or they tend to kind of try to get through these process by covering the truth or, manipulating their channels to meet the demands of a client they really want to work with. But ultimately, across the industry, there's so much transparency now in the fact that people are so empowered to just jump on their phone and find this information for themselves. And it's really not kind of hard to dig someone out and find out what any kind of, things that you want to find out about them. So
yeah, that's really interesting. So Dean, I want to ask you just one question. I'm not going to ask you two questions.
Sure. One and some will be good.
What is the most important part for you when you're looking for an influencer? Like the number one thing. So that could be estimated reach. It could be engagement. It could be core values as a person. Like any of those things. But what's the number one thing
could
for
be
you
banging
guys?
body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few.
It could be brown hair and brown eyes.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, it's the promise of good results, actually. So the biggest impact is feedback from other brands or other platforms, other agencies that this person will perform given the resources you put in.
Yeah.
And so if we can't find that out, that's like first and foremost. We've got some promise of results versus some people we have no idea about. Yeah, that'll win. But in terms of initial, homework we can do, you're right. Size of following is important. It's not the most important because look, if someone, had never found Instagram before and started using it, the next thing they'll be asking is, are there bots out there that can help me get more likes or get more followers? And they'll discover that within probably an hour of downloading Instagram. So that's there. And everyone's aware of that too. Like everyone's hyper conscious of it. So if you do a few samples of someone's feed and you look back a year or so and you see someone asking a whole bunch of questions in some foreign language.
So it is possible to work out if someone's paid for followers.
Yeah.
By just doing a little bit of a dig.
Yeah.
Bit of common sense, and you can see quick spikes in, if all of a sudden they've gone up 10,000 followers overnight.
And is that an immediate, red flag?
Big time.
See you later.
Yeah.
All of you across the board.
Yeah.
If anything doesn't look like, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
If anything doesn't look like organic growth, like an organic incline or decline, not that you would partner with someone who is declining, but it's a massive indication that it's a bot following. And another thing that I guess you can do is asking for an actual screenshots of their analytics and things like that.
Yeah.
So then when you're actually looking at the locations that their audience is from, it's a huge give into is that an authentic audience or is that a bot audience?
Well, everyone's from Timbuktu.
That's exactly. The middle of nowhere. Some of the locations of these people are there's no reason why that person would accumulate a following in such an obscure country without paying for it. So there are bots.
That people do that.
It is. It's crazy. There are bots, but they're not very sophisticated, so it's quite easy for now to tell who's got a bot following and against who hasn't.
Yeah, that's good to know. That's good intel. I didn't even think about that until it came up just in the conversation. I'm like, oh yeah, there are crazy people that pay to get followers on their personal Instagram thing. That's nuts. Why do we care so much? So I want to ask you, Dean, what's your advice? Because I know that this podcast is going to be listened to by definitely by brand managers, so sort of sitting where you are, Simone, but also influencers. And I want to ask you, what's your advice for people starting out? So people that have maybe been rejected by the right fit once or twice, and then they finally got it through, either by lying or by telling the truth.
They'll never get through.
That they've got 5,001 followers and they just got the green light, and it's like the very beginning of their career, potentially a great career as an influencer. What's your advice to them on how to start?
Sure. I'd say quality over quantity. and avoid the shortcuts, which they're out there and they're getting more sophisticated. I'd say, like, every time we get around it, no bots, none of any other shortcut that maybe doesn't exist yet might exist in 6 months' time. Totally avoid that. Take the longer, more organic path of building up a decent following, an engaged following that's in a particular niche. I think that helps too, because I think a lot of brands have discovered the big blast influencers sometimes aren't the best value for money as 10 really focused ones in particular niches.
That's interesting too. That's
I love this, and you always touch on this about like saying no more than you say yes, like that, getting really, really clear on what it is that
purpose.
Yeah.
It's got to. Well, that's just my philosophy on anything, but it's just got to align.
Yeah,
like purpose for purpose, or don't worry about it.
Yeah,
no point.
And I think over time, and it is a longer term game if that's what you want to build the next stage of your career as.
Yeah.
To take that seriously and play the long game.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
Yeah.
Simone, what's your advice to people in brand, so brand management, brand marketing, influencer marketing, on how to like nail a marketing strategy for influencers?
I guess my number one piece of advice would be build...
No bots.
No bots.
I think that's just the general takeaway from today.
Definitely no bots. But definitely building long-term strategic partnerships. So working with people long-term, understanding their channels in their entirety, not like a spray and pray approach, like find some really targeted influencers, whether it's in a niche sort of sector, and just work out how you can work with them across a multi-channel approach. Just really, really kind of leveraging like lots of different touch points. So thinking we're beyond Instagram or beyond like a social channel. Can we leverage this person at point of sale? Could we use them and invite them to events? So really, really getting the most out of that partnership. And that's ultimately what's going to look the most authentic to the audience, because consumers are so savvy nowadays. So
it's true. They really are, aren't they? And I think that's why this has exploded, because it's a bit of a stick up your middle finger to the old way that we were marketed and advertised to. And I think, like, definitely being in the generation that I am from, it's like, this is so obvious and in my face and I don't care what you're saying, that I want to move away and do something that I really believe somebody believes in. I think that's where it kind of has stemmed from. Final question before we wrap it up. If you each had to choose only one social media platform to exist on as a person, so not in your roles, in your very high profile, powerful, important role, as a regular human, and you're not allowed to buy bots, what is the platform for you, Simone, on social media?
My own personal platform.
What do you prefer? What's your favourite?
My favourite is probably Snapchat. Yeah, it probably would be Snapchat.
I wish I could get my head around Snapchat. I feel so like old, but I'm like, but how do I find my friends if there's no search?
But it disappears. I don't get it.
Oh, I love it. It's so personalised. It's so fun. And I love Instagram, but I feel like Instagram's a very aspirational channel, whereas Snapchat's just very like personalised and fun, and you only have a limited number of followers, but the people who you follow and follow you back, that's like your absolute team. Yeah. So like the 15 people who I might follow are like my best friends in the world, and we just have so much fun on that platform. So
do you work with influencers on Snapchat? Is that starting to happen now?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. So especially when we're using influencers off for point of sale and things like that and events, then that kind of live streaming experience and things like that's like sense. That's priceless for the brands that I work with. So yeah, we're using it more and more.
So Snapchat, Dean.
I agree. Snapchat. I can't get enough of the filters.
Yeah. Snapchat filters, right?
Well, you're not having fun with those Easter filters last week? It was so much good fun. In so many different places I use it.
There's so many new cool things.
Taryn, what's yours?
Gosh, I feel like I'm so old. God, it took me that long to get my head around Instagram, and now
MySpace.
Yeah, exactly. Bring it back. I just got my head around that and making the unicorn
away again. Oh,
that's niche. That's niche. Shay's number one MySpace.
Exactly. I'm actually building a whole new platform now.
That's like vintage social media, isn't it?
Everything old will be new again.
Absolutely.
I would have to go Instagram. Yeah. I do like the pretty pictures. I understand how to use it. I have not got up to speed with the Snapchat thing yet. I'm not cool enough, young enough. I feel like
Snapchat's also simpler too, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
Like to use. Instagram's a lot of work. You got to it takes commitment.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does.
Although I wish that everyone could just stop with the new features, because now it's like you've got albums on.
There's a lot of stuff going on right now.
The
Post the
carousels.
picture, put the that's
calm
all.
down,
Yeah.
Instagram. That's my final message on this.
What's yours?
Well, do you know, even though I feel like it is quite vacuous and very toxic, depending on who you follow, but Twitter, I find personally, but I think that's because I'm an information junkie, and so I like just seeing all that information and not necessarily so many baby and pregnancy pictures that I get on Facebook from people that I don't care about. So for me, because, and also just being in media, it gives me just celebrity access, and I just feel like I'm really across the news stuff, and that to me ticks a few more boxes than...
Probably making you smarter. Instagram, I don't know if it's making you smarter.
I
yeah.
didn't want to say that.
Playing with Snapchat filters. Definitely.
Also,
The
Twitter
bomb one.
can be really, like, it can be awful and terrible, and there are just crazy people on Twitter, and there's no filter. But I think if you do follow it for the right reasons, you can find a really fun space in there to engage in current affairs, and it is a little, it's totally different to the platforms that we've been chatting about. So I think that's why I like it, because for me, Facebook and Instagram is kind of my job. It's like a little part of what I do. You know, so for the Twitter sphere for me is like, oh, that's like me time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hashtag me time. Simone and Dean, thank you so much. Taryn, as always. Thanks guys. This is episode 2. I think we should do another one.
Yay.
Right.
Agreed.
Cool.
Thanks. Cheers.
Thank you.
All right.
Yay.
Have a good session.
That was awesome.